Hi everyone. Hi everyone, and welcome to the first of our monthly webinars for the 15-16 academic year. This series is called In My Creative Classroom, and they're hour-long webinars. We'll be spending a lot of time with an active member of the Adobe Education Community who'll share with us some of their thoughts. We'll do some interview. Then we're going to step through some of the activities they use, and then we'll step through some step-by-steps on how to use some software. So welcome aboard, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. If you do have any questions to ask us, please feel free. This is all about chatting with each other in the pod, about asking Kimberly questions, and if you need any technical help, just give us a who as well. Joel, I'm just going to disable your microphone there. Apologies for that. So first of all, I would like to introduce you to Kimberly Larson. And Kimberly is our Adobe Education leader. She's also a certified Illustrator expert and a certified instructor for Illustrator as well. And Kimberly is coming to us from the Effingham College and Career Academy in Georgia. She teaches graphic design, graphic communication, and web and digital design pathways there. She's always had a passion for arts, technology, and teaching. And Kimberly says that she's a jack of all trades. Throughout the year, she teaches high school students, mentors former students, mentors new teachers, conducts education training for local businesses, professionally develops other educators, maintains and updates the school website, and advises students in her Skills USA chapter, as well as participates in photo walks and excursions. And alongside teaching, Kimberly is also a freelance photographer. So Kimberly, welcome aboard.
Welcome. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. I'm just going to change our layouts, and we might just turn our webcams on so that we all know each other. We can all see each other. Hi, I'm Pip. I'm a head teacher of learning innovation at Sydney Secondary College in Sydney at Leichhardt campus, which is a middle years college. I'll be hosting the session, but Kimberly will be doing most of the hard work. All right, so Kimberly, let's kick off with, I'd love everyone to know a little bit more about you. Anyone, if you have any questions for Kimberly, please just type them into this pod down in the bottom left-hand corner, and I'll address those to Kimberly as the time is appropriate, and we'll go from there. All right then. So Kimberly, first of all, can you tell me a little bit about your classroom? So what year do you teach, or what technology have you got? Just some of the basics of what your Effingham College is all about.
All right. Yes. I teach 9th through 12th grade in a rural community. We're actually right outside Savannah, Georgia. So we're a bedroom community to the ports, and the classroom, typically the last 5 years or so, I've been teaching just 11th and 12th graders. This year we've actually started, or last year I guess, we actually started also teaching web and digital design. And so we've opened it up, and I've been starting to teach some 9th graders again. I'm actually in my 13th year of teaching, and I love it. It's just, too much fun. The classroom, and I'm in my lab right now, and so you can kind of see back behind me, but I have a 3,000 square foot lab, and I have 28 student computers. I have 2 production computers in the back because we also run a small business for the students to work in here. I also have a digital dark room and a green screen studio set up in the back. And while we have Mac and PC, we're primarily we're a PC lab. The students all have access to graphics tablets, and some of them love them, and some of them not so much. It just takes practice to get used to it. And we have
So
all sorts of. Mm-hmm.
Do you have a digital dark room?
Well, yeah, I do have I have a separate room off to the side that is, the door will close, and we do have a green screen set up back there, and we shoot tethered into Adobe Lightroom, and we do studio shoots out there, but then we also will walk around the campus. It's a very small school. Our school is only 7 teachers, so we have the flexibility where we maybe can walk around more so than maybe at a traditional school.
Wonderful. Awesome. And so you just teach in your lab, you don't teach, do you do other classrooms? What sort of technology are in the regular classrooms?
I primarily just teach in my lab. I do go out and do professional development for other teachers and other schools, doing a lot of Adobe training. Also, we're a Google Apps for Education school as well. So I do a lot of technology training as a whole. But pretty much most of the time, anytime that there's a training, most of the training people come here to my room and set up in here, and we'll do the training here. Not only for the school, but we also will do some community classes as well. And I have my students help teach those classes. Take some of
Awesome.
any kind of donations we get, we put it back into the classroom. Yeah.
Great. I'll ask you more about that in a minute. Can you tell me what's brought you to where you are as a creative educator? So why did you get into the creative field? What's your buzz there?
Well, I would say that probably, maybe a lot of us it happens the same way. I've always been interested in art and just creativity as a whole. My family is extremely detail-oriented, but creative people as well. And I just remember, whenever we were driving around, I was the person in the car, doodling and things like that. But, the long story short, I took a graphic arts class, or some of us may know it as industrial arts back in the day. And I absolutely fell in love with that. I thought that was just the most amazing thing. You could go and screen print your own t-shirts, and then you could go and make your own books and all this sort of stuff. And I was also I played a lot of sports in school, and I was playing softball and baseball. And I ended up getting a full ride to an art college, which paid for my undergrad. And I also worked in residence life, which I got a grad assistantship to finish out with my master's in fine art. So I think being around that kind of like-minded person, and I stay in touch with all of those people, that creative energy or that creative ball. Also just the students themselves kind of push me towards it. But I think part of the reason, like for example, teaching, why do I teach high school? Because I always have people ask, they're like, well, I'm actually originally from Daytona Beach, and they're like, well, what are you doing here? And the thing is I feel like it's almost, I'm paying it forward. My high school teacher showed me this life or this world that I didn't know existed, and to be able to push that and show it to my students and then see them excel. I have students that work all over the place. I have one that just graduated and is working in an ad agency up in Manhattan right now. And it just, makes me super excited that I can open some doors for people. Yeah.
It's nice. It's nice when we can see our students where we know they can go and they actually get there. It's such a rewarding thing as an educator, isn't it? That's cool. So you've always sort of been in the creative journey and then added the teaching to that, if you like, rather than some of us who are teachers and then stumble into the creative bit. Cool. Awesome. Thank you. Don't forget, anyone, if you've got questions for Kimberly, just pop them into the question pod. All right. So what are your particular creative skills? So some people are drawers and some people are tinkerers. I can't draw for the life of me, but I like to think I can take an idea and blend it or whatever. So what's your thing?
I think I like all of it. You will probably see me at some point. I will draw by hand, just pencil and shading. I'll paint a canvas. I might spray paint it. I may do environmental graphic signage. I may make my own clothing, or I think I remember in college, I think I spent whoever went to art school might agree with me on this, is that I think I spent more time in the home improvement store, like the Home Depot or the Lowe's, more than any other store, because I was always trying to figure out what I could get that I could substitute or use for this other thing. And just kind of exploring. And I remember we had to make like metal clothing. And I think that for me, I think one of the bad things about me is when I'm in a store, I'll see something, I'll look at it and go, oh, that's amazing. But I never buy it because I always think I can make it, even though it's probably more expensive for me to make it. But if I can get my hand into woodworking, or if I can make a mobile, or if I can do like coding and programming, and basically if I can take anything, whatever the medium is, and then take it and customize it to however I want it, then I'm probably going to dabble in it somehow.
Cool. Cool. Tinkering. I think creative people are the best tinkerers in the universe.
Yes.
So how do you get your own professional development? So say you find this new idea, or there's a new piece of something comes out, like coding, for example, that's sort of new, like, there's a bit of a focus on that at the moment, or there's a focus on all sorts of different stuff. So how do you go about keeping yourself learning and moving forward?
I have a fascination with always wanting to learn and do more and learn more. So if you ask my fellow teachers here, they would tell you that it's because I have no life. But I just tell them that I have different priorities. Like, I may not go home and sit in front of the TV and veg out. Instead, I may be in an Adobe Exchange class, or I might be online watching Terry White videos, or watching Von Glitchka videos, or anything like that. I'm just always trying to improve myself. And I think my advisory committee too, in our school system, we have to meet with professional advisory committees twice a year. But I actually meet with my advisory every Friday for breakfast before school. And we go over things and talk about clients. We talk about coding. I have one of the people on my advisory council is an ethical hacker. So he tells me about, what's going on and how they're kind of going about, and what's the new way that they're going into things. And then
Ethical hacking, that's an awesome term. Sorry, we often talk about white and black hats at school with our techie kids, so that's great. Ethical hacking, I love it. Thank you.
he actually
Take
just
that
came
one.
back from Black Hat over in Vegas. And
Okay.
and I have another guy that for fun he designs and screen print skateboards at night, but during the day he actually does the Lowe's, or not Lowe's, Food Lion website, and he used to do the Verizon website. And I'm very lucky that a lot of people, because it is a bedroom community, a lot of our people work out of other places, like
Yeah.
the ethical hacker is from out of Florida, and the guy that does the websites is out of Atlanta, but they work out of here, out of our community, and they
Yep.
just they get to, it's nice. They can work from home, which helps me out because I get some really awesome people on our committee.
Yeah, so you actively look, like I remember I first met you through the Adobe Education Exchange, through the courses that are there, and I always see your name doing those, and with your mentor, I find I have two mentors myself that I'm always chatting with and touching base with, so actively looking for professional learning is how you good. Right, so let's put you aside. Let's move to your students now. Mm-hmm. So what's your students' favorite creative activity that you do with them? So what's that activity that the kids are going to get a buzz out every year as you run through that? Or is there something that really makes them, you can see their eyes light up and the engagement switch goes right on?
Yeah, as soon as you said, because I was sitting there thinking about it earlier, but as soon as you said that, it just hit me. One thing I do is when we start out in Adobe Photoshop is we'll go in and I have a picture of somebody that is, older and has wrinkles and stuff, and so I show them how to smooth out the wrinkles and how to take the Liquify and maybe lift up the jowl and maybe take the under eye dark circles out and whiten the teeth. And we'll do that, but then later on what I do is we reverse it. The students take a picture of themselves, and then they have to age themselves. And what I ask is that they age themselves like 30 years. But apparently these students believe that in 30 years they're going to look like the Crypt Keeper or something, because it is frightening what they come up with. I mean, you can't even imagine. But it is a lot of fun. And the students at first, they don't like it because they don't like zooming into their face that close. And the way that all the computers are, everybody's sitting facing towards the front, so the people behind can see the computers in front of them. So they get a little nervous about that. But when they get in there and they really start, I mean, they have a lot of fun with it. They put big curlers in their hair. They really go to town on it and trying to figure out how to get the skin tones to match and really age themselves. Probably that's probably one of the things that they enjoy the most.
Okay.
And then I would also
Cool.
say there's one I stole from, I'm sure you guys have seen the website. It's worth1000.com, but there's a contest. But I call it the Movie Mate Project, where they take two separate movies, combine them together, and make a new movie poster. So, like, I had a student, they did the Never Ending Story and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, put that together, and they had the Never Ending Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And they
Awesome.
had a guy wielding the chainsaw, riding on the back of the dragon dog thing. So, a lot of fun. Yeah.
Excellent. That sounds awesome. Next question. How do you integrate this awesome creativity? So say your movie, do you link that in with the regular curriculum? Let's call it the regular curriculum,
Mm-hmm.
with the other part of the curriculum, or do you always do creativity as a standalone component?
I link it into everything. My students that are in the web design class that all they're doing is coding, I still will even take it, like, for example, um, I was introducing computer basics, and I don't even know how well y'all be able to see this, but there we go. But this is
Awesome.
just a little drawing with some watercolor. But I make even the web students, I make them draw because none of us are great. I mean, well, let me rephrase. Some of us are born this way, but most of us aren't born these great artists and these creative people. So I kind of push them to at least dabble in it and then show them that we can just use basic shapes to get the message across, and
Yeah.
hopefully it will develop over time. But yeah, they
Awesome.
have to do creative throughout. It doesn't matter what it is. I want to see them kind of push themselves a little bit and come up with a new creative solution for whatever the problem may be.
Cool. So last question before we go to sharing some of your student work. What do you think is the overall impact of focusing on this creativity in your classroom? So what do you think the actual line between what your students achieve and the work you put into it? What is that, do you think?
Hmm.
And of course, being like an educator, we never celebrate our success that much. Like we're not the best celebrators of success in a way. So be humble. It's okay to be humble, but what is it you do to students?
Um, I don't know, as far as like how to get them to that point, or
Yeah. So what do you do in terms of students? Do you give them careers that they've never considered before? Do they think of different ways that they can think, if you like? Do you open channels of even interest to them? Where do you find your big impact is?
I
Or is
think
it just getting them to school more?
I think getting them getting them in here, showing them that you can have a good time, because you always hear that term, like, we're not really educators anymore, we're edutainers. We're always trying to, like, entertain them while educating them, and maybe they don't realize it. But I think getting the kids here, and some of them have these great home lives and others don't, and coming in and having a good time and learning these things. I think that some of the students, the one that's in Manhattan right now, she turned in a portfolio to a school that, when I looked at it, I mean, I have fun with the students, I have a good rapport and a good relationship with them, but on one hand, but on the other hand, I'm also very strict and very stern and very honest. And I told her, I said, well, the portfolio that you submitted is not good. And I gave her some pointers on how to redo it, and told her, why don't you go apply for these other schools and just see if you can get in. And she's never ever thought about going to these other schools. And the school she ended up going to, she ended up getting internships at Comedy Central and College Humor and things that she would not have had, if she would have went to this other school. And
Mm.
being able to now tell my other students, hey, you guys can have this. you can obtain these same things because this student sat right here in this seat where you're sitting right now. And I think actually the success of my other students are actually opening the doors for my current students and my
Ah,
future
nice.
students. Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Well, thank you for that kind of snapshot of what you do. It sounds really cool, actually. So what I might do now, we're just going to turn the webcam off, and we're going to head into a zone where Kimberly is going to share with us some of the things she actually does with her students. So, Kimberly, if you'd like to share your screen now.
Okay.
And that's looking good. Thank you very much. Wonderful. I'm going to mute myself now, and you're just going to go through, and I will interrupt you at you have about, say, half an hour or so to run through what you do, and then step by step an activity. So anyone, remember, if you have any questions for Kimberly, pop them up in the pod, and we will ask her towards the end so that we don't interrupt. So I'm just going to mute myself.
Awesome. I actually trying to push my students for creativity. Sometimes what I found is in my assignments, and granted, I know that I'm teaching a creative subject anyways, as far as the graphic design and web design, but even the web design and the coding, when you think, like, you wouldn't think coding would be very creative, but it is an artistry on how you're actually typing it in and the way that you're maybe approaching a topic. But right now, I actually have Adobe Illustrator CC 2015 up, and in the lab here, we actually all students have Adobe Creative Cloud 2015 on their machines. I went and popped up this just so as far as you could see what the lab looks like. The area, all of these tables here, each one is about 5 foot wide, and so I'm very excited. This is about twice the size of my old lab, and so we have plenty of elbow space, kind of room in here so we can work. But as Pip was talking about, like some of the projects that we do, I would say that a lot of our stuff, which really helps push the student as far as creativity, but also professionalism and really pushing those soft skills that employers want. We do a lot of projects for for clients for live work. This is actually one that came in yesterday, and it's for a company that they want to take this and make a decal out of it, and it needs to actually be a vector. And when he sent this to me, it was a very high-res Photoshop file, and when I zoom in, you can actually see that this is not a very clean file or a very clean image at all. And so we go through, like with the students, I'll go through and have them actually, for example, this one, they'll actually have to vectorize it. I do show them, for example, like in this case, if you're familiar with Illustrator, that Adobe Live Trace, or not Live Trace, but Illustrator Live Trace doesn't really work very well for this particular project, that they actually have to go in and build it, and they have to build it layer by layer as they go up. The reward, though, for these students, I think what helps kind of push that for really wanting them to excel is that this is a live project that actually will be produced, and they will see people in the public actually wearing a shirt with this donkey on it. And so I think really having a sense of pride of their work is probably what is really going to kind of push them. But as far as this goes, I have the students go in, and in the very beginning, like if you are teaching something like Adobe Illustrator, when I'm teaching the tools themselves, is I'll go in and obviously teach them all of the panels. I'll teach them the toolbars, all that sort of stuff. But then I do actually give them timed quizzes on all the shortcut keys. The faster you are, the more productive you are, so on and so forth. But I do give them some little tips and tricks kind of along the way. And so like in this case with this donkey, I may come in here and I'm going to pull the layers panel out. And my layers are typically bigger. You can do this in Photoshop and in Illustrator. My layers are bigger than what you would typically see. So what I do is right here on the options on the side here, I can click that and come down here to template. And what's nice is it's almost like put a piece of tracing paper on top of it. and you'll see in the layers it actually goes and locks the layer down, and then I can go and draw on the next layer on top of it. And I kind of have them go through, and I remind them that they have to build closed shapes. Now I will tell you, and if you've tried teaching the pen tool ever in Illustrator or Photoshop, probably that's the one tool that most people, not just students, but people have a difficult time with. And I don't know if maybe it was Terry White, but this website here, and hopefully when I zoom in, y'all will be able to see the zoom, but somebody actually came up with a Bezier curve pen tool game to learn how to actually use the pen tool. And as you know, like as far as teaching students, it's all about gamification. It's about entertaining the student. And so they come in here and they actually start playing the game. It goes through and teaches them how to do it. And the method that they're teaching them works in both Illustrator and in Photoshop. Well, and in design, of course. But they would just go through here, and it's almost like a golf game. Try to get the fewest nodes possible, and then of course the kids get super excited about it, and they try to beat each other and see if they can get fewer nodes than maybe somebody else. So it does go through and give kind of a tutorial. You can go and replay the tutorial. It will tell you what to hold down as you go around. And what I've found is I don't have as many students that want to, kind of bang their head a bit because of the pen tool. But I keep reminding them that with all of us who are starting out learning that pen tool, it may be difficult in the beginning. And I've been using Adobe products for about 20 years or so now. The thing is once it clicks, you'll get this little light bulb, and then everything will work, and you'll understand the pen tool. Your world will be perfect. The butterflies will fly out, the unicorns will come out, and everything will be great. So in this game too, I also like to tell them it's kind of like the game Operation, if they've ever played that. As far as if you go outside the little gutters, then it doesn't work. For example, if I come over here and pull it way out and let up, it's not going to work. So again, and I'll zoom in over here again. This is the website if you want to introduce that. I didn't make it. I don't know who made it, but I think it's genius that somebody made a game for us, for the pen tool people. So again, that's one thing I would do, is kind of getting them in here to work on this. But I also found that if I just kind of leave it open, because sometimes I'll leave it open and the kids find it very difficult to even start a project. And it doesn't matter what it is, if it's going to be a creative Illustrator or Photoshop, or if it's going to be something else that's going to be like a research paper. But what I found is if I give them more restrictions to it, then that's when we actually start developing that creativity. If, for example, we were just working on a t-shirt design for a company here that sponsors a field day, and all they said is they want a t-shirt design, and they said they wanted it in one color, and then they handed me the graphic standards manual that was 27 pages about what we could and couldn't do with the logo. And I just handed the standards over to the students, and I said, here you go. This is what they want. Go for it. And so that really pushed their creativity, is how can they produce this and keep it within the restrictions that the client wanted. So I will say too, and for Illustrator, and then I've got Photoshop open too, because I know normally I guess people may just do a thing, but I have a couple little things I try to push with it. But with creativity, I would say as well is that the appearance panel, if you're familiar with the appearance panel in Illustrator, this has to be my ultimate favorite tool ever in any program at all. Basically, for example, if I go and draw a line here, I can actually take this line and I can give it a stroke. But very quickly, I can actually go in and convert this into a film strip. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take layers and pile the layers on top of each other. And there we go. I'm going to zoom in a little bit just so that y'all can see what I'm doing. So if I'm taking a black thick stroke. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and put a white stroke on top of it, but I'm going to make it dashed. So I'm just going to come down here to the appearance panel. I'm going to add another stroke to it, but change this stroke to white. But I'm going to make this stroke a little bit thinner so you can see the black edge on it. And then I'm also going to take this and dash that stroke. And you, again, just kind of getting students to play. That's my big thing, is in the software, play around and see what maybe you can come up with. So I've got my black stroke, and then I've got a white stroke up on top. And I'm going to take and do another stroke. Change this one to a black stroke. But instead of it being dotted, I'm going to make it solid, make it a little bit thinner, and then hopefully you'll be able to see quickly where I'm going with this. So it's just right now it's 3 strokes on top of each other. The black one in the back, the dotted, and then I have another black one in front. And then to make it into a film strip, I can then do another white stroke, make this one a little bit smaller to fit in here. But again, to make it so it looks like it's actual film pieces, I'm going to go and make it dashed. And I don't know, let's make it 25. Let's see what that looks like. Nope. 6, sure, I don't know, 50, sure. So that's giving it more of a film look to it. Once you get this all designed up and everything, what I love about this is, for example, I've got this appearance done. I can then actually go and open up my graphic styles, and I can actually drag and drop this into my styles. So now, if I zoom back out, just to show you, I can actually delete this line here, and I'll just get a pen tool and just do something really quick. Kind of draw around like that. And after I draw it, I can select it, and in my graphic style, I can quickly just go and click that one button, and it will apply that style to it. You can also do this with different shapes. You can do it with, you can take a word, for example, and as I'm going through with the students, of course I do this much slower when I'm going through with the students, but as I'm going through with them, I'll actually have them play with this and see what creative strokes they can come up with, and then also share them, because the graphic styles, they can come up here and they can go and save this graphic style library, and then they can share it with other people. So I'm not one necessarily for reinventing the wheel. I'm willing to share everything. So I feel like, why couldn't the students share? So anyways, I have my font right here. I just typed out my last name, and in my appearance panel here, I'm just going to add a stroke and apply that thing that I just did, which is absolute bonkers. But I'm going to try to see if I can make that stroke a little bit smaller, and you'll see I'm getting kind of this fun thing going around it, but this is kind of nutty. So not really working for what I want, but I could still kind of play with it and see what I can get done with it. But it's just, again, something to play with. I think that's the key to the creativity in my class, is letting them play, but also understanding who the students are. For example, like I'm looking in front of me. I actually have 2 exercise balls in the classroom, and students can come in, and instead of sitting in their chair, they can sit on the exercise ball, because some students just have a lot of energy and they just need to get it out. And so instead of getting up and running around the room, they can sit there and bounce on the exercise ball, and it allows them to be free, their brain to be free to maybe develop more creative ideas in whatever it is that they're doing. I also allow the students to go in and listen to music. Granted, I only let them, if they have earbuds, they can only have one earbud in and one earbud out, and they can't stream because of bandwidth issues. But I do let them listen to a couple websites like simplynoise.net, and the other one that they really like is mynoise.com, I believe, because that one has some fun different kinds. Both of them are white noise, but it blocks people and things out, and then they can concentrate on their work at hand. I jumped over here to Photoshop. I actually have 3 items open here, but this one actually I thought was a fun project, because this was brought to us by the Historic Society here in our county or our district, and they brought these photos in, and I'll just kind of flip through them so you can kind of see the quality. And actually, I lied. They didn't actually bring them in. They brought them to a company, and the company scanned them and then emailed them to us. And you'll notice in the file name up here that they were emailed to us as PDFs. And so as far as the creative solution is, the students had to sit here, and I know that these are from our county, but these students, they've never seen any of these places. They don't know where these places are at. And so they're going through and they're trying to figure out how to fix this photo, because I've had people in the past, especially with Photoshop, they're like, well, can't you just give me like a step-by-step solution on how to do this? And it's an artistry. There's really not a step-by-step, because what may work on this particular project may not work on another project. So they actually have to go in and try to figure out how to clean this up. We talk about different, as far as researching, because the students wanted to know, was this a black and white photo, or was this kind of maybe a sepia tone, or the kind that I'm sure we all had those, that kind of red looking photos we had as children. But I told them, I was like, well, on the bottom of the photo right down here, it says 1957. So 1957, we need to go back and we need to start researching what, for example, were the photos back then in color, or were they in black and white? The car, the students, a lot of them converted back to black and white, and then wanted to do almost like a photo wash, like a color wash over it. So they were trying to figure out what car it was. So researching on the internet and trying to figure out the make and model of that vehicle. Coming in here, and they zoomed in trying to figure out what's going on with the front of this vehicle, to find out that there's actually a tear in the paper. Some of them, it didn't take long, but some of them figured out, because behind the tear, how do you know what the car looks like right here behind the tear? It took some of them a little bit of time to figure it out, but once they started looking at it, they were like, well, wait, this headlight is actually looks like the same angle as this headlight. And so some of them actually started figuring out that they might be able to take bits of the side over here and actually move them over. And so one way that we talk about, especially when we're trying to fix photos like this, however, they may do something like, I'm just going to grab this and see what happens. I just went around and selected it, and I'm going to hit Control or Command J, and what that does is it just makes a copy of whatever that was I just selected and allows me to move it over easily. So I can kind of move this over, and one thing that we really stress in class is not working, we don't want to destroy anything. So we work a lot in layer masks. So right now I'm on layer 1. If I go up here to my panel options, I can actually make it a larger panel just so I can see it a little bit easier. And I might turn on my layer option, or my layer mask, and actually go in here and try to maybe paint some of this away. I talked to the students about, in any of the Adobe programs, if they use the bracket keys next to the letter P, they can make their brushes larger or smaller. So I can simply just kind of start seeing if I can maybe get some of this away and try to see if I can get that edge of the car, like maybe that headlight, in there. If I turn that off or on, you can see where I'm trying to build up the headlight and maybe replace maybe some of that that's missing. In this particular case, I actually encourage the students to first take this and pull it back down to a grayscale. And like I said, if you can get something like this particular project, because this will actually be produced and hung up in the Historic Society, again, that's what really drives these students. I actually, for some of the clients, we have a boardroom in the front office, and so for some of the clients, we actually go through, and the students have to dress up that day, and they have to go to the boardroom, and they actually have to go sell or present their idea to these board members. And they'll go up there, and the people up there from the different companies, and these are big companies in the state or in the district, that they'll be up there in suits, and the students will have to go up there and introduce themselves. I send another student up to sit in the corner of the room and just write down body language comments. Did the students say things like and a lot, or did they look at the client in the eye? Were they assertive, or were they very submissive or passive in the room? Things like that. And we've actually been able to build up our clients to where the students actually had to do a presentation where they had to go up to the boardroom and present their stuff, but present it to a company that was in Arizona. And the students had to basically do their presentation to a webcam and broadcast it over to Arizona to do that. But kind of mixing it in with the curriculum, that particular project was so much fun because that was to create a debit card. And the debit card, come to find out, the students, I was under the assumption they would all know debit card. They didn't know, and so this was a great opportunity to teach them about finance, to teach them about debit card versus credit card. A good bit of the students, which I thought was funny, a good bit of them made the design very feminine. And when I asked them about it, they said, well, only their mom carries the debit card. The dad doesn't do that. He just carries cash. And I was like, well, no, not everybody does that. Not every dad is like that. So we did have to talk about, making it, trying to figure out who the target audience is and making sure that we somehow get to our objective, to try to do that. And the students, some of these clients that we have, they may just give like an attaboy, a pat on the back, while other clients, they may go in and do like a $150 gift card or something like that to the student. So again, the students are really trying to, getting some sort of like gratification out of it. But anyway, so this particular project, like I was saying, what I had the students do is I had them go in and do simple things like maybe taking this image and going down and desaturating it and taking that color out of it and making it just grayscale. Going in and maybe trying some of the auto things like the auto tone, which pops that up, and hopefully, and I will say, kind of go right now, the responsive time I'm having with the computer is a little bit sluggish, but I think we're still doing well. But if we go and look at that versus that, it's a big difference in there. So again, just kind of playing around with some of it. I do talk to the students about how we might be able to take, for example, we've got this super dark edge on the side. So again, I might select this dark edge, do Control J, and what that does is it just pops what I just selected up on the new layer. But now I can take what I just selected and I'm just going to try to lighten this up. And I may try all sorts of things. I may come in and just try some levels or some curves. And again, what may work for this particular project may not work for another project. So I may come in and see what I can do to maybe see if I can lighten that up. But of course, this isn't looking so hot right there. Still looking pretty crummy. So I'm going to cancel that and come out of it. What we ended up finding with this particular project is by just going in and using the burn and dodge tool. And I'm a firm believer that using your traditional, explaining the traditional parts of things. So like the dodge tool and the burn tool. If you've ever had to develop film and actually do your own photos, sitting there with the dodge tool, trying to lighten a certain area, it just looks like a spoon, and you're you're just waving it over this one area, blocking the light or dodging the light from hitting the photosensitive paper. So, for example, if I come in here with the dodge tool, you can see how this is starting to lighten this side up. And I may not have to go in and do anything else. And I'm just kind of touch and go, and see if I can get it to maybe match up a little bit better. And if I go and look at my history panel, you can kind of see again, where we were. Yeah. A little, like I said, a little draggy, but so there, down to there. You can see where it's starting to pop up. So I just kind of show this to the students. I also use a program that broadcasts my computer out to their computer in a small windows on their screen. So that way they can see, as anybody's running into issues, I can say, hey, let's try this or let's try this. And again, it doesn't even matter if we're doing resume writing, I still have that up there. And just trying to explore different creative types of resumes or whatever the task may be. Again, I push creativity in all aspects of the curriculum, not just, photo restoration, things like that. Some of the, let's see, come over here. I will tell you some of the things that the students have really jumped onto as well. And right now, my libraries, and this is because I'm on the school Wi-Fi, so it's having trouble initializing, but using the Adobe Touch apps, fantastic, because they can do their own drawings and then use Adobe Shape, and it will pop it up, and they can have a vector of it in Illustrator. Or they can go in and do like a little doodle, and then they can use Adobe Brush, and then it pops into Photoshop, and now they have a fun new brush that they could possibly use. One of the things that the students love to do, especially if you're just trying to get them, I find if you just let them go in and play with the software, like it doesn't, like if it's like PowerPoint or if it's whatever, I just let them go in and play with the software first to see what it can do, and maybe what it can't do, because a lot of people I think are scared when they first get into technology, and they get a little nervous, and I have to remind them, I'm like, you guys, you're not going to break the computer, I promise. Everything will be okay. But which I haven't had anybody break the computer on me yet, so fingers crossed. One of the other, like I said, it's dragging just a little bit. There we go. One of the other tools I kind of have them come in and play around with is the Liquify tool. And this one, I show them on the screen. I'm sure you've seen them. They call them like Photoshop fails or whatever. But basically, it's people have gone in and they're using that term so loosely. They're just saying that was photoshopped or this was, But however the image was manipulated, but maybe they cut a chunk out of something that they shouldn't have cut out or whatever. So, okay. So this is just a picture of me, and I have them go in and start playing with different things like under filter, let's see, oh, it's an index color. I save this out for a web. So under filter, I'm sure if you've ever played with the Liquify tool, this is the one that they love to do, and I have them do it with themselves, just so, because if they do it with another picture, then they start doing some crazy stuff. So in Liquify, you can actually come in here and start doing things like, for example, pucker. And same thing in Liquify, if I use the bracket keys next to the letter P, I can move this in or out or however. There we go. So what this is going to do is it's going to take and pucker. So if I start clicking, you're going to notice my eye is going to start shrinking, and this is where you could tell they start having a lot of fun with this. If I get the bloat tool, that's going to do exactly what you think. It's going to start bloating it out, and it's just going to make the one eye super big, almost like Avatar alien looking big. Then you can start playing around with things like warp, where you can actually start grabbing certain parts and moving them around. And so grab that eyebrow, lift that eyebrow up. You can also come and start slowly, do it tasteful. You could do a nice little facelift if you wanted to for somebody, but then you could also see where they may go crazy with it and, put a big dent in the side of their head. And for this, like I said, if they're doing their own photo, I let them just kind of push it and really play with the creative part of it, and then they can, from there, I'll say, okay, now, after they play with it, now, okay, here's an actual photo of a client, and this is what they want done to it. They want you to clean it up, maybe take off some spots, maybe lift some areas, give them a slight smirk or a slight smile, and kind of go from there. But again, I try to use whatever I can use to get the students into it, whether I'm using any of the Adobe products, or if I'm using Slate or Voice or anything like that, just to kind of get them playing and get the creative juices going. I'm going to pull this back up real quick. And
hi, hi Kimberly, it's Pia. You've still got a couple of minutes, but there are some questions if you wanted to pop through some of those, or did you have something else you wanted to show first?
No, I was just popping back over because I saw it was 7:50 my time, so I wanted to pop back over real quick because if not, I will talk forever about my stuff.
Okay.
So
How about we ask a couple
that.
of questions? There's a couple of questions that may take more than just a minute. So Joel from Australia wants to know, when you're teaching an app like Photoshop, do you teach the tools bit by bit, or does your overview cover them all comprehensively first of all?
Yeah, it's more comprehensively. With this, for example, when we were doing the photo restoration, what I would do is I started that out with, I said, here's the photo, and then I said, okay, these are some tools that you possibly could want to use in this particular project. And so I would go and introduce them to a few of the tools, the patch tool or the clone stamp or however. And I would actually, so in one project, we could be hitting a bunch of different parts, and we may spend a couple days on it. So today I cover these tools, and then tomorrow I go, well, you could have also tried this, and then show them some other things. And then of course, sometimes at the very end, I'll show them a shortcut that they could have taken along the way as well. But if you've ever, like in Photoshop, I know my students were so upset when content aware fill came out because they had to sit there and go bit by bit with the clone stamp or the healing brush. And they're like, what? You don't have to do anything. You just click it and it just does it. But they found out very quickly that that's not how that tool actually worked. So again, it's just kind of going through. I do several tools and several parts of the software or the program on the project, and introducing a little bit more as we go along through it. Let's see. Was there do we have another question in there?
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. What white noise websites did you mention before? I shared one called Coffeetivity that I love, which is the sound of a coffee shop. But there's just a couple more. And then, what were they called?
There's one. It's Simply Noise. I want to say it's simplynoise.net. No, is it Simply or Simple? Maybe it's simplenoise.net.
.com. I'm just popping it in the thing for you, Joel. Awesome, thank you.
And then the other one is, it's called My Noise. I want to say it's mynoise.net. That must be the .net one. Mynoise.net. And the student actually found that one, and that one has it has a coffee shop in there, but it even has like cats purring and heartbeats, and it also will animate, and there's adjusters and sliders in there. It's blocked right now at the school. I'm trying to get that one unblocked, but it will actually animate, and you can actually get it'll go louder to softer instead of just being that constant recurring. The Simply Noise or Simple Noise, that other one, we use a lot for testing because it has a white noise, a brown noise, and a pink noise. And I tell them to avoid the white and the pink because it's going to make them have to go to the restroom. So the brown noise sounds kind of like a low tumble dryer maybe. But the other one is the one that they actually enjoy the most, is the mynoise.net one. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. And then Andreas has got a really cool question. With approach you use with your class, it's quite an unconventional approach. Have you always been using this approach, or did something click you to use it? And then he's also curious to know what you do to make other teachers more comfortable about using creativity a little bit more. So first one, what made you click to this way of teaching?
Um, I think it was actually born out of necessity, because once they had a graphics class in the school, we started getting a bunch of people coming in, and like coaches and principals, and wanting things, and they wanted things quickly, and they wanted things to perfection. And so but the way I tell the students is, there's no reason to say that I'm training you for the real world, because the fact is that we are in the real world, and this is what they want. And so so we have to get to that point. Now, I will say, though, some of the stuff as far as the boardroom and presenting to webcams and things like that, that has happened since I came here to the Career Academy. Over here, we've had a lot more like business and industry people coming in, and a lot more like promotion and marketing, that we're getting these other types of clients. Before, our clients were just within the school system, and now I think that this has really helped the students grown, like just to see their presentation skills from year to year. But yeah, I think that part's like came kind of out of necessity to get their stuff done. And what was the second question?
And then how do you bring other teachers along on this creative journey? Like, how do you get other teachers out of being so traditional to doing things how you do them?
I would say lead by example. And I will be the first to tell you that it's a constant struggle sometimes. Just today in the front office, when I was up there, the teachers were up there laughing and joking about how long my emails are, because they say that every email I send is like a dissertation. And then also the amount of email, because I always find these little tidbits of creative solutions and things to try in the classroom, and I send it out. And they all told me, they're like, well, we just have a folder that anything you send just goes into the folder, and when we get time, we look at it. And I was like, you guys, I don't even send you half of it. You should like also go up to my blog and see all my other stuff that's up there. But I think just going and kind of leading by example. Like today, the students, they were writing some HTML code. Well, we could have sat here in the classroom and wrote the code, but I got an idea from another teacher to go out. The whole front of our school is nothing but giant windows, and so we went out there with dry white markers, and the kids teamed up, and then I told them what code to write, and they're out there writing on the windows, having a grand time. But then all these other classes that are around me, they can look out, and even though there's only 7 teachers in this school, because we have feeders from 2 different high schools, they're looking out right into the hallway, and they're seeing all these kids out there having a good time, laughing, writing code. The kids are actually getting all the code right. They're feeding off of each other. And then I have teachers going, oh, wait a minute. Well, where'd you get that from? What came up with that idea? And, kind of just keep pushing it. And they will come, hopefully.
Yeah,
Come
cool.
along. Yeah.
I call it the Trojan horse effect. And what we do with students, we do with some other student, they'll often tell each other. Okay, so last question. What program do you use to broadcast your computer to students? Or do you have one that students to you?
Currently, I use a program called LAN School, LAN School. There was another one that we used before, and for some reason the name is jumping from me. But I want to say LAN School is either free or cheap. But we use that, and it's really nice because I can broadcast my screen out. My cursor is a giant cursor, so they can see it. But then if a student is having an issue, or if they have a design, or if they want feedback or critique or whatever, I can then click on their screen and broadcast their screen out to everybody else in the class, and get their input and feedback right then, which really helps because the class is so large that sometimes you can't really see the projector screen. This way they can see it right there. You know, if the kid forgets their glasses or whatever, everything is right there on that front screen. And, you know, even for doing PowerPoints, everything's right there in front of them. You know,
Awesome.
they're not dilly-dallying. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. Kimberly, I just want to take this, it is time to wrap up, so I want to thank you very much for being with us and sharing your world with us today. That was really cool. I think Kimberly can be found. I just pop her edX profile into the chat room so you can touch base with her, or you can follow her own website, which has her blog and information on. We do also, the edX has some different courses coming up that you might be interested in, and you can see those links, the first of which is the digital creativity, which just started the other day, and the video production site. So you can join any of those courses. And also come and join us every third Wednesday of the month in our creative classroom session, and we'll be grabbing from around the globe. So keep an eye on the Adobe Education Exchange events page for the times and the links for those events. So thank you very much, everyone. Just quickly get you to fill out those polls for us before you go. And I will see you all in a month. Kimberly, did you have anything you wanted to say goodbye with?
Yes, I just wanted to thank everybody, and I'm super excited. I'm glad I got to share, and I can't wait to hear what other people are doing in their classrooms, because I'm sure that everybody's got some wonderful creative ideas that they're doing in their rooms as well. So thank you very much. I'm pleased and excited that I got to be here today.
Thank you. I'll make sure I share out the recording through, you'll all get an email with the recording link, and also will be in this edX activity. I'll just pop that there, and I'll make sure I share the links onto that edX activity as well, guys. So thank you very much. The survey is just on the left-hand side, those two poll questions there, Carolyn, thank you. And you'll get another link in an email with a longer survey. So thanks for coming, everyone. We've really appreciated you being here, and we'll see you all later.